Hey guys, it's RobJ here, and in today's video I've got some new ants from a company that I've not dealt with before called Antics. So I'm going to do a mini unboxing. I don't generally show the unboxing stage because it's always very similar and hardly that interesting, but this, I don't know, it's a little bit more of a spectacle. You get a lot more with it. Like this here. You get a customised leaflet to the species you bought, no matter which species it is from the shop. It's a full care guide. Shows you all the information. Shows you what you've bought, everything. And the ants I've got are camponotus cinctellus. Now I'm going to carry on digging through the box, and I'm assured that this is what everybody gets. This isn't because it's me. It was actually done blind to the staff on purpose. So this is what everybody gets. So apart from the juices that you saw at the start of the video, they're extras for me to try out. But everything else, the customised leaflet, the packaging, that is standard, which is included in the video because I thought this is the most packaging I've ever seen for a test tube. And actually feels like you're getting a lot more than you are. And as these ants are, going to be with you for like 20 plus years, it was a bit refreshing to have quite a detailed packaging system. So as I dig into the inner box, the two of two box, I find a magnifying glass, a small test tube, 2 natural Q-tips, and then finally we get down to the ants. Now I apologise for the ants already being previously opened. I've actually looked after them until the video was ready to record, which is why the stickers and everything aren't quite as the same as they were when I first went through. But here we go. Here are my camponotus ants. And these are referred to as the shiny sugar ant. And they have like golden hairs on them. And so in the lights, certain angles, they actually appear to have a golden shimmer. I'll show this later with a light at the right angle, so you can sort of see the golden shimmer. So here we go. It looks like we've got quite a healthy colony. I think we lost 2 or 3 workers or so in there. Now they died shortly after shipping. Everything arrived alive. I give them their first feed, and they died shortly after, so it's probably from the travel, but they didn't arrive like that. But everybody else, important, is okay, the queen especially. And here you can see on the queen's gaster, I'm showing you the golden shiny, this is where they get the name, the shiny sugar ants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them into a nest. The nest that I'm going to be using today is made by wakooshi, and it's a test tube based nest. So it's their new Mercury Nest. Now I'm going to be moving them in. Now, the ants have come in an 150mm test tube, and that's what the nest takes. Hence, this was why this nest was my plan. I didn't want to move them out of their original test tube. But it actually turns out that even though that it's the right size, it's slightly different from a different manufacturer and wouldn't fit in. So I'm going to have to go with test tubes wakooshi included with the Mercury Nest. So what I've done is I've PTFE'd the test tube so they can't walk back up the test tube, and it's PTFE'd around the rim of the outworld. Then I gently just lowered it in, and no forcing, no tapping, no heat, and only minimal light for the video was used. And the ants, I'm not saying this is going to be the same for every species, but the ants actually started the move immediately. Now I had kept them in the box in the dark, so even any light they will not be particularly happy about. which is a good thing for you to do, keep them in the dark and then move them in the light. But pretty much immediately, because I aimed the funnel of the test tube to the entrance of the new underground bit, ants swarmed in there, and it wasn't long before they realised the humidity and everything else was perfect. Oh, and it was level and slightly shaded. So it was pretty much within 5 minutes you could see here that the move had started, or at least with the larvae, the eggs, and that was pretty much the start of the waterfall of moving the ants. Now I've chose these ants for a number of reasons. I haven't kept them before, which is very much a part of my selection process nowadays. But I also don't like keeping too many ants that are too similar to each other. So I was going to be staying away from some camponotus ants. I have some large, small, Asian, etc. ants, but the shiny sugar ant, or with the golden gasters, or the golden hairs, seem different enough to me. Their behaviour is very different. They're very fast and sort of twitchy, and they even run away from fruit flies. I'm guessing as the colony gets larger, or there's more than one of them, they would actually tackle a little prey item like that. But they're really fast, little darty, little nip, run away, is what I experienced during the very first feeding. But this is part of an upcoming review, because if you want to know more about the Mercury Nest, just wait until the next video. This colony I didn't feel was quite large enough to go into an acrylic nest. And I thought the test tube, they looked really happy and healthy. So that's why I initially went with keep them in the test tube, until I realised I had to switch them into a new test tube anyway, which just gave me the opportunity to give them a slightly larger water source, just so I can maximise the amount of time they're in this, or until they make it too dirty. But going from the looks of their other test tube, they don't dump their rubbish in the same place as nesting, and they seem relatively clean. Now after most of the eggs and everything had been moved, the queen finally went for it, and she slid down that little transfer U-bend like it was a school playground, and she went in, but she stayed inside the very heavily shaded U-bend down to the test tube, so sort of like the access port. And she stayed in that a while, until the ants realised that the eggs would be more suited right up next to the cotton wool in the test tube. And then later on she followed through to sit with them in the more ideal location. Now this location here is mimicking where they were in that other test tube. So that is ideal that they've actually pretty much started replicating how they were in the other test tube. Now, bear in mind that, this test tube hasn't got the little wood inserts, but it actually has an insert to help humidity and the ants from heavily blocking the entrance to feel more secure. And this is just a ant test tube portal. There's 3 included with the kit, and you pick the one for your queen's gaster and you pop that in, so they have sort of got a little bit of what they're used to. But as you can see, the move went better than I could have even hoped. It was so smooth. It must have been the easiest move I've ever done. I took the cotton wool out and they moved. The first ant out literally moved. So it couldn't have been easier to get them in. But yeah, absolutely ideal. So after them being a bit timid about the fruit flies, I thought, okay, let's get them some sugar. So as their name suggests, the shiny sugar ant, they actually lapped up the ant nectar that I popped in. So now I've introduced them to their full darkening, which is like a push-on red acrylic sides. Then the substrate above does the top, so now they're fully shaded. And see this little cutout in the end? That's where I'm going to run a heat cable through, so it'll be heated at the top end of the test tube away from the water reservoir part. So condensation should be a minimum, but they'll have a choice of humid, moving up, and then heat temperature gradients, all in a test tube, which will be nice. I hope you've enjoyed looking at my new species, and you'll obviously see lots more from them in the future. If you did like this video, why not give it a thumbs up? It helps me know that you enjoyed. And why not leave a comment and tell me what you think of the shiny sugar ants. Thanks a lot guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.